Stealth in video games seems like an oxymoron. How can sneaking around and doing things quietly be fun? How can someone choose to play a game that involves sneaking around and listening over a game where you go in guns blazing, creating chaos and mayhem? To answer this question, look no further than the video game Hitman: World of Assassination. Hitman is a masterclass on how to make stealth satisfying. There are a few main ways Hitman makes stealth more fun and interesting than the alternative, but before I get into that, I want to discuss what makes bad stealth gameplay. When thinking about stealth in video games, you probably immediately think of the infamous tailing mission. That is the level or part of the game that everyone hates, where you follow a target at a snail's pace while maintaining an awkward distance away from them. And if you do end up getting caught, it is an immediate game over that forces you to start the whole thing over from the beginning. This type of gameplay is featured in Assassin's Creed, Spider-Man, GTA, and way too many more games. Oftentimes, they are just an easy way for the game to dump exposition on the player during so-called gameplay. They are barely interesting the first time you play them and completely dreadful on repeat playthroughs. I personally do not know anybody who actually enjoys these types of missions. Slightly more interesting, but still imperfect, are stealth segments in games where you have to clear out a room of enemies one by one without getting caught. These types of missions are slightly more interesting due to the fact that there are usually multiple ways to go about completing the mission, as compared to the extremely linear nature of the tailing mission. However, they are often overly simplistic and not nearly as fun as the core gameplay of the rest of the game. Oftentimes, these missions just feel slow and boring as you wait for enemies to walk away from the group so you can take them out stealthily. Overall, it seems that a lot of video games will include stealth segments as an afterthought. In my opinion, many games that aren't stealth games that include this type of gameplay would be much better off simply avoiding stealth altogether. Hitman, on the other hand, embraces stealth within all aspects of the game. What makes stealth in Hitman so good is the fact that it actually isn't required. Stealth is a choice. You can beat all the levels without trying to be stealthy. Getting caught is never an immediate game over. The game is, however, much more difficult this way. However, it is possible and still even fun. There's also the option of how much stealth you want to use. Maybe you want to be sneaky reaching the target, but once you get to them you can shoot your way out. Or maybe you can create a chaotic situation at the beginning and then use the chaos to stealthily reach areas you would otherwise not be able to get to. You can tailor your own experience with as much or as little stealth as you want, and this gradient creates extremely varied and interesting scenarios for the player. What makes Hitman such a great stealth game is how the game pushes the player to choose stealth, and it is this very act of choosing stealth that makes it so satisfying. When you make that decision yourself as a player, you have a lot more agency in the way you want to enjoy the game. Hitman is designed so that stealth is often the more rewarding option. This can be seen in the game mechanics. Agent 47's abilities and his limitations are tailored in a way that rewards stealth gameplay. For example, he has the ability to see through walls to see where targets are. However, he also has a very slow movement speed. For a genetically enhanced man, he is quite slow. It is very easy to get yourself in a situation you can't sprint away from, but this forces you to be careful and plan all your movements. Agent 47 also has many options when it comes to stealthily killing people. He has silenced pistols, can throw things with pinpoint accuracy, he can push people to their deaths, drown them in toilet bowls. The list goes on. However, when it comes to face-to-face combat, his options are much more limited. He can engage in hand-to-hand combat with one person at a time. It is pretty slow, and if you are surrounded, you will quickly be killed. This makes face-to-face combat encounters extremely dangerous. Agent 47 is also able to disguise himself by taking the outfits of NPCs. This allows him access to different parts of the map without arousing suspicion. However, certain NPCs will be able to see through these disguises, and the game map is always large enough that one disguise is unlikely to be enough to get you everywhere you want. This creates situations where you have to constantly change your disguise as you traverse the map. As you can see from the examples I just listed, every strength 47 has is accompanied with a weakness. The strengths make the game fun and interesting, but the weaknesses force you to think about the decisions you make. This creates gameplay that makes the player feel very capable, but also very clever and intelligent when they make choices that utilize their strengths and minimize their weaknesses. Hitman creates an environment that is full of tension. Tension is what makes stealth have stakes, and therefore what makes stealth exciting. As I mentioned earlier, stealth is technically just an option. However, things are much easier when you choose stealth. While playing the game, you will get caught and things will go wrong. This threat of everything tumbling down, even after all your careful preparation, keeps the stakes high and injects excitement into every level. However, what makes Hitman so fun is that things can go wrong. In other games, where things going wrong leads to an immediate game over, Hitman keeps going. Things can and will go wrong. but that doesn't mean you have failed. There is always a way to recover or worm your way out of even the stickiest situations, if you are clever and skilled enough. Hitman is just difficult enough without stealth that you want to avoid the situation turning bad, but not so difficult it is impossible to salvage the situation. This often leads to memorable moments where you beat the level by the skin of your teeth. Stealth is so satisfying in Hitman. The ability to choose stealth combined with the complexity of the map and mechanics, and the fine-tuned difficulty, make the stealth experience in Hitman addicting and infinitely replayable. Some games may have you busting down doors, kicking ass, and taking names, but for me, I prefer the stealthy approach. Stealth may be quiet, but Hitman makes it anything but boring.